One of the things about current deprivation is that I find myself watching TV shows I wouldn't normally watch. And one of them is about the border security agencies in Australia. And they have a very strict rule in Australia that no foodstuffs can be brought into Australia from outside. So you're supposed to declare on a form in the plane whether or not you have such foodstuffs. So if you do, they take them off you and they destroy them. If you don't declare that, they still take them off you and destroy them, and then they give you a $200 Australian fine. Now, the thing that's interesting about this is so many passengers coming into the system there insist that what they've got in their bag is not food. It's only sweets. It's only ginger. It's only spices. It's only this, that or the other. It's not food. And I suppose it's because they use the word food differently than the Australians do. For them, food means a meal, and this is not a meal, it's just a few sweets. Do you see what I'm saying? Because of that clash of cultures, because of that clash of understandings, there is distinct miscommunication between the border staff and the people that they're serving. Now, we'll come back to that. So we have Cleopas and his friend on the way to Emmaus. Now, we do this every year. First we have Easter, which is great. Then we have Doubting Thomas, and all the things that we can gather from that. And that next Sunday, this one, is Cleopas and his friend on the way to Emmaus. And every year we note the irony involved in this thing, that actually they have the risen Jesus walking with them, and they say to him, "Are you the only one that doesn't know what's been going on these last few days?" It's great. It's wonderful. I love it as a piece of irony. And then, of course, Jesus spends time with them unpacking the scriptures. He takes them back. It says he goes from Moses all the way through to the end, explaining to them the things about himself that are in there. And, of course, at the end of their journey, that Jesus is invited into their house, and he goes in with them, and as they eat the meal, he breaks bread, and suddenly they see it. Suddenly they get it. Suddenly they realise who this person is. My goodness. And then he disappears. Freaky. But they're so excited, they run back to Jerusalem to explain to the others what they have seen. Now, I want you to note here, there are various stages to this thing. First, they gathered together. Jesus joined them on that road. If he hadn't done that, nothing would have happened. And then, of course, there was the ministry of the word as he explained the scriptures to them. Great stuff. After that, Jesus breaks bread with them, and in all of that, they see Jesus. They recognise that Jesus is present with them. Now, it seems to me this is a little bit like a communion service, isn't it? You know, we gather together, we have a ministry of the word, great stuff. Then we have a ministry of the sacrament, and in all of that, we meet the risen Jesus. Isn't that brilliant? Isn't that an excitement? Every time we do that, we reenact that thing that those guys did. Okay, let's get back to this border security thing. Yeah? Now, this is something I got from Sue. It's not my idea at all. Sue, in her Wednesday group of people, suddenly thought of this, and she shared it with me, and I think it's brilliant. It says that Jesus interpreted the scriptures to them, and Sue locked onto that, and she said, "Oh, it's just like those border security people, isn't it? The way they decided to look at things determined what they could see." Yeah? And it's true in all sorts of ways of life, isn't it? The way we decide to look at things determine what we actually see. And because those people coming in to the airport didn't think that what they had there was actually food, whereas the people in the airport said, well, of course it's flipping food, and fined them for it. So too, of course, the couple on the way to Emmaus couldn't see what had happened, even though they say, we heard rumours of people having seen Jesus alive. They're still going back to their house in Emmaus, and they're still going, we had hopes that Jesus was going to be the conquering hero, but no. Do you see? They're seeing the wrong thing, and therefore they couldn't see what was going on, and Jesus needed to interpret the scriptures for him. Now, obviously the way Jesus interpreted the scriptures is different from the way other people at the time interpreted the scriptures. If it wasn't, they were all the same, they interpreted the scriptures exactly the same way, then they would have accepted Jesus. But they didn't, did they? They crucified him. So obviously they weren't interpreting scripture the same way as Jesus. And sometimes people need to let us in on the secret, say, this is how I see it. Yeah? Can you understand now? And that's what Jesus did on the road from Jerusalem all the way down to Emmaus with them. And that's why when he broke bread, pow, suddenly they saw it. The way we see things is really important. But it also actually lets us know how important the Old Testament is. Because if we don't know the story, if we don't know the teaching of the Old Testament, how can we possibly interpret it? Do you see what I'm saying? We really need to know that. And I think we have a problem because we spend all our time preaching on the Gospels, and sometimes we dip into the letters. But what we don't do is we don't think about the Old Testament, which is the background and the thing that gives the thought forms that Jesus himself used to see what his ministry was about. Wow. This is not food. This is just sweets. This is not food. Nah, it's life or death.